Good evening. Welcome to another edition of The Accidental Activist. I am Shanda Masta, the Accidental Activist and Serious Blind, and we have an amazing show lined up for you tonight. I have the Fiorella Isabel from Convo Couch with me. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I didn't know this was like so different than just politics. I'm kind of like it's interesting. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, it will be. So as you want to throw our fair use up, just so we get that out of the way, please. And then you can go to the next slide after that. Got to cover your ass on YouTube, you know. So yeah, the format for the Accidental Activist is a little different in the fact that I like to tell people stories. I think that you want to put their face on. I'm like, where are we? I like to tell people stories. You know, I came into the movement because I was driven by the passion of being a single mom and an opiate addict and, you know, working low wages my whole entire life and wanting to fight for the community that I had been in my whole entire life. And I think that those experiences have made me who I am. And I think that activists aren't born. I think we're created by our environments and the things that we go through. So I love to hear people's stories and what inspired them to get into the fight. So I'm super excited to hear your story. So I trolled your Facebook page a little today and I found some pictures of you. And I see your timeline is much like a lot of ours, where we were just doing normal stuff, you know, doing selfies and pictures of our lunch. And then all of a sudden 2015, 16 hit, and all of a sudden it's just Bernie and this movement. And so when did you get involved in the movement?
Yeah, I mean, when Bernie Sanders announced he was running, I think very early on in 2015, I was really excited by what I was hearing and related to him, because I mean, most politicians just had this air of really being extremely fake, even if they sounded good. And after Obama, it was kind of a letdown, you know, like I was like realizing just how horrible he was. And that, you know, just hearing Bernie and seeing the poverty that was even in LA, even in 2015, the level of just wealth disparity, especially having been in LA for acting and for that industry where you
so
see
did you
just
grow
like
up in LA?
no, not at all. I mean, I moved around a lot when I was younger. I was born in Lima, Peru. And my parents, when we first came to America, we came to Miami. And Miami and is where there's like this whole island Caribbean Latin flair mixed with a bunch of Cubans who hate communism.
Right,
Like,
right. They do too.
like, and it's like it's a hodgepodge. But you know, I moved around a lot. I've lived in the Midwest. I've lived in St. Louis. I've lived in New York. I lived in New Jersey. And I went into the entertainment industry, which is why I decided to live in LA. And I also was always a writer. And so I was also doing like pieces on like wineries and hotels. And like, it was just very like, you know, very like, what else is there? Like, and it was, I don't know, it was like
It was
really
very pre 2015 is the way I look at my life.
but
Like,
it was
there's a
also
line.
like, yeah, but it's also like the contrast that the focus was so much on the superficial. It just kind of magnified it for me like tenfold.
So did you experience racism when you were living in Miami? I mean, how was it growing up being, you know, an immigrant?
You know, not really in Miami because everybody is Latino. And so it's like normal and everybody speaks Spanish. I mean, the only reason I know Spanish fluently is because my my teachers there taught me Spanish and English both. So like they taught you from a young age, which rarely happens in America. It happens in Europe.
I know, right?
People over there know 3, 4 different languages. And so
our schools aren't even offering foreign languages. Like you might have a school that has maybe 1 or 2 foreign languages. You don't get to pick, you know, we're so deprived for education in this country, and it's going to come back to bite us in the ass really hard. And I think we all know that. So we got some Convo Couch pictures up. So I take it you got to LA and How did the Convo Couch come about?
So Pasta, I was working part-time as I think a cocktail server, and Pasta was one of the managers, and somebody told me like, oh, that's a Bernie person. And so I just became friends with Pasta, and he would see all the Bernie posts, and he would ask me to like help write back some responses for him because he was like, how do I respond to this Fiorella, this neoliberal or whatever? And
Right.
so I started responding, and then he was like, oh, like I've been wanting to do like a show. And I was like, yeah, me too. And so we talked about it, and we started doing the Combo Couch. Now we started it out on Facebook mostly because that's where we knew more people on the ground, you know?
Right.
And we didn't really focus on YouTube till later. But it
I think that's the natural progression of what happened. Everybody was on Facebook, and then YouTube blew up. Yeah.
Well, politically, yeah, we weren't even sure like how YouTube worked. I mean, we weren't in it for money at all, like
Right.
ever. So like it wasn't like we were like, oh, you know, trying to do this for money or anything like that. It just sort of naturally happened. I mean, having that experience in front of the camera, Pasta especially too. It's different though when we're talking about a subject that's like so serious and stuff, but
Right.
just telling stories was always a good part of what I like to do, is to like tell a story, and you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
there's so many stories that aren't being told that are really happening right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
No, I agree. And you guys do an amazing job of getting out on the streets. So as you want to go down to like this, what is it, 6? I think our decks are out of sync, honey, because he keeps getting on a different one. There you go. Yeah, yeah. So this is you guys. You want to tell me this? I mean, this obviously was during the campaign, but
yeah, so this is during the California Democratic Convention. And this is when all of the candidates, the presidential candidates, were coming in, and they were answering questions for journalists. And so we were there, and we got a good spot. And we were asking, of course, CNN was there asking their questions, the regular questions that they were asking.
Right.
And then we're over there asking about foreign policy. Pasta asked Kamala Harris about censorship, like why how she would respond to people that are worried that that's overstepping our boundaries by taking Trump's Twitter down.
Her head exploded.
Basically predicting what would happen. Basically that's what happened, you know. And Kamala Harris, of course, gave the same answer. And Andrew Yang, we asked him about how, you know, not having social safety nets, you know, that's my issue with UBI. It's like, you get it. And then like, if
Right.
you're not fixing the problems, it's not going to hold. So we were asking him those questions, and it was crazy to see them in person and just see like, oh my God, Pete Buttigieg really is a psychopath. I mean, I did not get that feeling like that from anybody else. Like he was was creepy as hell.
Well,
Like-
he's a CIA asset, you
Yeah.
know, that School of the Americas kind of screws you up. But and that's what makes what you guys do so important, because you go out there and you guys track these people down and you ask the questions that we want to hear, not the shit that CNN is saying and MSBS and, you know, all of that. So, who was somebody that you interviewed during the last campaign that you were really excited to talk to? Like it was a good interview.
Well, in the last year and campaign, I don't know if I can say anybody from the Bernie team. I would say Cornell.
I was going to guess Cornell. I was like, I
Yeah.
think that's the best interview you guys have nailed. I mean, you guys were so amazing. Your questions were on point. Fia, I got to tell you, you have the most extensive vocabulary of any millennial I've ever met. And you just set me back so many times a day when I'm listening to you, just like, yes, go girl, go. And I think you got such a bright future in this. I mean, you say you didn't get into it for the money, and yeah, money is never it. It's always love and passion. And I think you love this and it shines through. You love being out there trying to make a difference and changing the future, because that's really what we're all in this fight for, you know, is because we can't drink oil, and, you know, our water is poisoned and our air is poisoned. And I really appreciate it. So who was Fee in high school?
I mean, essentially the same, just not as #woke. Like I mean, I've always been pretty like empathetic, and since I was in the arts, like and also into writing and history. That's the thing. I've always been into history. Like I took AP European history for fun in
I
high
would
school.
too. I would too. I love history.
So,
History is my favorite thing in the whole world. And it shows because once you and you don't grow as a human being unless you know what happened before you were born. Right? You're just stuck in this little bubble of, oh, well, these are the things I remember happening. And that's what's so important about going back and learning history because we've already lived through a lot of this shit. We know how to fix it. We knew how to fix it. And we let
yeah.
these guys screw it up. You know, how many regulations have we rolled back that were FDR era regulations that it could have stopped us from having the problems that we're having now?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, there's just, you know, I think that the trick with generations, I think the younger generations are learning this quickly, not necessarily because of anything, you know, biological in them as much as by the need in the environment. So like younger people, like Glory Jones's age, like the,
Love
you know, they
Glory.
know more than what the millennials did when we were that age,
You're
but we
so
knew
right.
more than the
Yes.
previous generation because the time is running out.
Yeah.
So the need for something to happen is already like set in motion. So that's why
Absolutely.
there's less patience with the younger generations when we're talking about civility and when we're talking about all these things. Like, you know, it for my generation, it was Occupy. For a
Right.
lot of people, it was the, you know, the Obama years, the
Right.
2008
Right.
9 crash, and to see that happen again,
Yeah.
just looking back at the you know, right after high school and all of and now it's like it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like we got the short end of the stick.
Oh, you guys, the chat is just having a field day. That we're in 5 different chats right now, but they love you. They say yes, she is fearless. They love the interview style that we're actually just talking about you and you know how you got involved. And so you guys are out on the front lines a lot, and this summer you guys kept us in you know live feeds and information of what was happening on the front lines in California, all up and down. It was so important during this, you know, pivotal moment in history that you guys were out there recording this for us. And you guys got picked up and swept up in it and you got arrested.
Yeah. So
I
that
want
was
to take
crazy.
us down.
That,
Slide. I brought the actual arrest. We'll watch Fee get arrested.
that I mean, it's just crazy. It
Yeah,
was
there you
just
go.
I don't know if you want me to talk or not, but
Yeah, you can set it up. I mean, it's
yeah,
right when you
like
guys
so
were getting pushed in the alley.
we were we had just gotten there. Actually, we were quite late to the protest, and because there was so much traffic, and so we had just gotten there. We were filming a little bit and like got out and we were filming a little bit. The car was somewhere there and we were trying to make our way to it, and then like we got stuck, and then it was like, oh, like you were pressed, and they're like, no, you're not. Like that's
You
not.
had your badge on though, right?
Yeah, it was a badge, but it didn't have my picture. So the one that I
Oh,
carry now always has my picture,
yeah.
but still, we weren't at all like, you know, cheering or with the protests or anything like that. We were just filming. So it was crazy that they did that. And yeah, if you want, I don't know if you want to show it, but the LAPD is undergoing a class action lawsuit still.
Good. Good. So yeah, we're gonna show it. This is only like maybe a minute of it, so a little bit more than a minute.
And there weren't cops there before, and then we were gonna go down the alley, and it's like, oh, too late because now they're there, and it's like, okay,
And
well,
people are
there's
like,
all
where do we
these
go?
cops
Where do
here,
we go?
There was about this looks like about 200 cops for 50 people.
Oh yeah,
and they weren't
it's
even
at that
telling
point,
us,
yeah.
you know, leave. You know, they weren't telling us to leave, giving us
They
the
just-
opportunity to leave.
Yeah.
They're
So they just kind of surrounded you guys.
boxed us in.
Yeah.
What is going on?
They totally boxed us in. And earlier, Eva had told one of the cops uh, she had told one of the cops to take her to her car, and they didn't do that either.
Really?
Yeah. and like so here they were trying to tell people to go in this direction, and they, instead of being able to go that direction, the cops came from that direction. So people were like, where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? And we were like, okay, like, so you guys are lying to people. You literally see, and they blocked it here.
Yeah.
So they're literally blocking people in an alley. I mean, that is like a worst nightmare scenario. You're talking about like how, if you walk down a dark alley, you're afraid that somebody's going to block you in like that. Like gangsters do that. Like criminals do that. Like actual criminals who are going to attack people. They block people in an alley. These are the methods that police used, and it's called kettling. They kettled the protest, which means they surrounded it on all sides, and then they corralled people in here. And people were like, we don't know what to do. These girls started crying. Then they told everybody to like sit down, and
I can see those guys talking to people on the ground over there. They won't let them go now. Point.
Yeah.
So now they tell everybody to sit down.
Yeah, they tell everybody to sit down.
Yeah, this is Johnny's footage.
This is Johnny's footage. Yeah, it's very similar to mine. He stopped live streaming early.
So the guy's got a camera.
He's got the camera. There he is.
And then Johnny, you put your camera down. Oh wait, on your footage. Can we catch them letting those guys go? Right, maybe we can right here. See right here. Let's go.
That's crazy.
And then
Press. What's press? Why did they let them go? We're members of the press.
So they let those press members go, but they kept you guys behind. You had your press badge on, right, John?
Yeah.
Fucking pieces of shit. Really, to tell you the truth, chicken shit cops right there, man. Chicken shit.
Look at how many
cops
cops they have to have for like all these.
Yeah.
The majority of them women, right? The majority of them women, young women.
There was like 15 of us, 20 of us in that alley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Eve.
And that's when they come grab me.
Wow. You are so brave. I've been on the front lines a lot, but I've never got close to being arrested. And I just got to say, you've always got my support because I know what it's like to be out there. It is fearless. You had to have been scared shitless with those cops running at you.
More than scared, I was angry.
Right. Who the fuck are you to do this?
Because it's
to
like,
me?
wait a minute, where's the freedom of the press? And then, not long after, that was the LAPD, which, like I said, they have a lawsuit coming, and that was just one street. And another street nearby, they were shooting into people's cars.
Right.
They were shooting rubber bullets everywhere. And not long after, the LA sheriff did very similar things to a journalist. Like they actually grabbed the journalist and put her on the ground, and
I saw that.
It's like, well, that to me is like, where is the free press? I mean, we're over here documenting something, and even if we didn't have a badge, let's say we didn't have a badge, why do they get to decide who is allowed to film and who isn't?
Exactly.
Like, why should that be a motive for arresting anybody? Because there's a lot of people that started filming after George Floyd, right? So
Yeah.
like all these people that started filming, they have a right to film. Like they can be citizen journalists too. They shouldn't have to go get a badge.
No.
So
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And so this was a really aggressive protest, but you guys had been doing a lot of different rallies and protests all summer, and a lot of them were not like this. Was it just because it was LAPD? I mean, the spot that it was at in California, or I mean, we know there's a systemic problem in LA, obviously. Rodney King, they beat your ass and then they apologize later and pay out a bunch of money. That seems to be their MO. Is it just that South area, or is it further north?
well, that was actually in West Hollywood, and that happened right after George Floyd. Like it was one of the earlier protests that the early part of the summer that we were at. I think it was actually before June or around that time. So people were like really angry, and there had been some looting and some rioting and some of that stuff happening that day. So that's why they had like there was actual cops with like live rounds and like it that's why they're in trouble because like they used way too much force, right?
Yeah.
And then it makes you wonder like,
Excess.
oh, well, why are we so surprised? This is what we do
Right.
all over the world, 10,000 times worse
Right, yeah.
to all these other countries.
And you think it won't come home to roost. Exactly.
Right.
We knew all of those tanks were eventually going to end up on our streets. Redneck Economics says, great point by Fee. Journalism should not require a badge. Thank you, Stevie. So let's see. I've got some questions I want to ask you. But this is just going to be like fun, get to know Fee type of questions. So do you like mayonnaise or Miracle Whip?
I'm vegan, so
So you like vegan mayonnaise, right? Are you like avocado mayonnaise?
I don't know. Yeah, I guess vegan mayonnaise. Yeah, it's good.
Have you ever seen a UFO?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know if I have either. Are you scared of spiders?
Not scared. I just don't like being bitten by them.
Right, I know. That's the worst part of a spider. Do you believe in Bigfoot?
That's yes and no.
Well, if you move to the Northwest, you're going to learn all the Bigfoot stories. Everybody in the Northwest thinks Bigfoot's real. So you know.
We'll save Bigfoot for you when you move up here,
Yeah,
Fee.
yeah.
Please, I want to be BFF.
Do you like red or green hot sauce on your burrito?
Both.
Well, you like Christmas. I like Christmas too. I'm not shocked. That's my favorite. What Walt Disney princess would you take to the front lines with you?
It's tough because they're all like so dependent on men.
I think Mulan is my
I
guess.
like Mulan and Belle. Belle read books.
Belle, yeah.
And
She took on a beast, so yeah, you're right. Belle's pretty bad.
yeah, she wasn't superficial.
Do you like karaoke?
Yes.
Yes. Avocado toast, yummy or yucky?
Yummy.
Yummy. I like avocado toast too.
Yes.
How did the Convo Couch get its name?
I don't even know anymore. Like we were just going over different names and I don't know why. We were like in like a studio and we saw a couch and we were tired and we were like, oh, the Convo Couch. Like I really can't recall.
Well, it's
something
great.
like that.
It is great. It's a great. I think it's a great title. That's and that way it's just wide open. Anybody who wants to sit down on the couch can have a conversation.
Yeah.
Cookie dough. Do you like it baked or raw?
I would say baked.
Baked. Okay, I'll stop torturing you with the 50-second questions. These are always things I wonder. I'm like, I wonder if he likes avocado toast.
Hell yeah, I love
Hell
avocado
yeah.
toast.
So what do you think about this crap that's going down with Wall Street? You guys covered it today. You did a great job. Should we be surprised?
No, we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, this is just them throwing it in our face. Like, how much long? What's it gonna take, America? What's it gonna take for you to get out in the streets? Like, stop fighting about the Boogaloo Boys and like look at who's actually stealing from you directly. They're the enemy. I don't know how much more clear it can get. I don't know how many more times we have to say this. I feel like a broken record. Like the enemy isn't the working class. It's not a left-right paradigm. It is a top-down paradigm. That's what we have to be focusing on. And we can't because we're too busy fighting each other. And like, it's so dumb, but it's by design because the Democratic Party needs to survive. And so all these people that are attacking those outliers, the third party cadres, all the green people, all the MPP, all of those people who all have their own issues are getting attacked directly by the Democratic establishment and the people who want that reform. So instead of fighting, they should like get over it, all these groups, and literally do what we can to actually have a fight against right now. I mean, what better time? Look what a few people on Reddit can do, and how angry, in spite of everything, in spite of them manipulating the market, in spite of it all, like the fact that that's even possible shows you how much you can do. And if more of us did that collectively, it can apply to so many things, right?
Yeah. So do you think, I mean, how does this movement in the streets look? I mean, we always say general strike or wildcat strikes. It's got to be the workers that get out there in the streets. But if it's not, with unions top down the way they are right now, we have a hard time getting the workers out in the street. So could it break on something else like BLM or another type of Occupy movement? Do you think that there's maybe a potential another Occupy movement that could stir from this?
I think it would. I mean, I think I think there is a potential for something like that, maybe a general strike type of movement, but it has to come from people. Like, I think Americans, both like on the left and the right, whether you want to say, you know, Bernie was the left, like they were so reliant on him that now that he's gone, there's a fracturing of that and people don't know what to do. Same with people on the right regarding Trump. Like, Trump is like sort of gone from the sphere right now, and people don't know what to do.
They're missing him. You're right. You're right.
What we need to learn is that, yes, you're going to have people who are leaders, but at the same time, we need to understand we need to move forward without any centralized leadership, like to just get these things going regarding like elections and redoing our elections and having like ranked choice voting and all of these things that would allow a third party to even be successful, because that's what they use all the time. The excuse that a third party is like that you can't. Reforming the Democratic Party is the only way to go because third parties are a mess.
Right.
So the third parties have to stop being a mess.
Right.
Too.
The third parties. And you know, I think that the stupid Bernie meme that we saw over the inauguration is a prime example of that. I mean, people just clung to anything and everything Bernie, but why weren't you fighting that hard? I mean, if every person that posted a meme was out there fighting, Bernie should have just bowled over the Democrats, you know. But we know that
he just did. He just voted for every single one of Joe Biden's warmongers, like Avril Haines, and then just all of these people he just voted in for. He's going to vote for Neera Tanden too.
Oh my God. That's just disgusting to me.
None of these people are holding him accountable.
Whatever Joe says, we're going to do whatever Joe says. Those were Bernie's exact words.
Yeah, within the scope of what Joe Biden wants.
Exactly.
It sucks. Like, I should be happy he's in the position he is, but
right. You and I both, you know, I was a Bernie delegate in 2016 and you know, I've been on the ground for Bernie for 6
and I like
years.
the same Thai food, for crying out loud.
And here you are hanging out with Bernie in this picture behind us. We got Bernie and me.
Not once mentioned Julian Assange.
Right. Why? He didn't mention the, you know, election. He never mentioned anything that we all knew and we saw in 2016. And I was willing to forgive and forget because, okay, he was going to make another run at it. And so I was willing to just kind of swallow that big lump and get past it and still support him, even though I was disappointed he wasn't calling, you know, what we saw in 2016 out. He wasn't saying anything about Julian Assange. And so then, you know, I went to Chicago in 2017 with the People's Summit, and that's when I knew he went in there and he toted the Democrats like Tom Perez. He just came off the Unity tour, and it was just like, fuck, here we go again. We're gonna do the same thing. The Dems are gonna rig it because we hadn't changed any of the primaries. If anything, we had lost some of the caucuses because they were coming at us taking the caucuses away. Mm-hmm. So people get pissed off at me now, and they want to say, how dare you be critical of Bernie? I say I've spent 6 years and probably hundreds of thousands of dollars on the ground fighting for this man, and the whole reason he can't win you guys won't talk about, and you lie and you make conspiracy theories about. So don't tell me I don't have a right to be pissed off, because I do, and so do you. Exactly. I had to monologue a little bit.
That was a rant. That was a Shonda rant.
Yeah, I had to go for it, but I love this is your brag page. You want to drop us down, Oz, so we can brag a little? No, go back to the last one.
This isn't that one.
You are so out of sync tonight. I think Oz has been in the hooch. Okay, so we got you and Bernie back here, and then of course you and Jimmy Dore and Nina Turner and Tulsi. Those are two topics I'd like to talk to you about. What do you think Nina's going to do? How do you think it's going to go for Nina if she runs inside the Dems?
I mean, I think it's going to go the same. I mean, I think that the party is she seems to be, you know, trying to really be close to the squad, and she has been kind of going on that borderline of like backing up the status quo progressive talking points, because it's weird because now I have to say status quo progressive. Right. Because it's really I don't even know how to describe it anymore. It's like, oh, this was an insurrection. Oh, there's a white domestic terrorist threat. It's so big. Oh, like we have to go and impeach Trump. That whole narrative, like if you're following that whole narrative, I'm suspect, because that is the status quo narrative. And it's not just because I am such a contrarian and I'm just against that. It's because like if you look at everything and take the emotional aspect of ideology out, they're like revamping, they're like amping up the surveillance state so much with so much censorship because of a few like dumbasses who came in there and took selfies. Yes, some people got hurt, but that was also allowed to happen.
It was allowed to happen. It was
allowed
staged to happen. Exactly.
And they had all these things in motion regarding like what was going to happen, the repairs for the Capitol, like the impeachment,
the scaffolding,
the attack on the people who voted for who wanted to question the elections. All of that was dated before the 6th. So I'm like really, to me it's like I don't understand like how you accept that, oh yes, the FBI now, the FBI that we trust so much, the FBI that lied about Russiagate for the last 6 years. The things that we're not being told and how we should know by now. This is how we generate and manufacture consent for either war, and if not war, a war economy, in which is included the ability to spy on Americans. And that is part of it.
Which is getting much worse. And AOC, is calling for, and Ro Khanna is out there within freaking 2 hours saying we need to beef up, the cybersecurity and everything else, calling for censorship.
Silicon Valley Ro.
Yeah. So that's exactly what he is and who he is. And boy, he's really shown that the last, year or 6 months, especially. I love that Jimmy called him out on his show and put him in the hot seat, because that's how we should be talking to all of our elected officials. They are accountable to us, not the lobbyists and not their aides and the people that they surround themselves around.
100%.
So Tulsi, what do you think Tulsi's gonna do?
It's hard to say with Tulsi because she's so like.
Could you see her running libertarian? Because I hear a lot of rumor about that.
Either I don't put it past her to run as a Republican, but I think she's more than likely would do libertarian first. She seems to have a very I don't know, friendly hand with the libertarians. She seems to be defending them too, especially since what's his face Brennan was saying how bad
them to be a terrorist group.
Libertarians are coming. They're coming for you. They're gonna throw Ayn Rand books at you.
Right. All the libertarians I know are kind of just progressives, but hate the government and don't want any government. It's kind of the way that I've encountered most of the libertarians that I've encountered. And there was a lot of them within the Bernie movement in 2016 that I encountered. Did you have the same thing?
Yeah, there were a lot more in 2016 versus 2020. In 2020, they voted for Yang, Tulsi. Some went to Trump, some went Green Party and stayed Green Party. They dumb exited for good. This time around, Bernie was trying to get the centrists, and they admitted later on that was their goal. Like in
Chuck Rocha, thank you.
To get the centrist vote, which is dumb because you should be going after the majority of people who don't vote and the independents. But what do we know?
Right. Especially now, I just watched a report before the show launched. Bloomberg is reporting that the Republican Party is splitting in two. And without Donald Trump there to keep it afloat, all these are going independent. So that really leaves a huge lane if you take our independent that are out there just floating around, the Democrats.
Yep.
And I mean, it was 42% in 2017. God knows what it is now, and you put those together with those that are breaking off from Trump, we could have a voting bloc big enough to actually hold some power. But do you think that it needs a leader?
I think people need a leader. I think this could be possible if America weren't still such a baby country compared to other countries that, are older and have managed to have had democracies exist and fall. I think what we're seeing now though is we were too big too soon. As an empire, we got too big, and we're falling. The empire is falling apart, and you're watching it fall in real time. And everything else is the old entities with power trying to survive because they don't care at this point that they can expose themselves. It's almost like
No, they
know that
don't.
they can get away with it. So
Yeah.
they're going to keep doing it. And it's
Yeah.
going to keep being a joke that the wealth disparity is so big until people do something about it. But now that people have become FBI informants, now that
Right.
they're pushing this Domestic Terror Act Prevention Act of 2021, now that that's happening, that's going to come back and bite us in the ass at the point where people might be ready to like have some sort of revolt against the government, right? Like it might bite us in the ass at that point.
Right.
And that's exactly what they want, because the reason they're ramping up this sort of surveillance on the country isn't because everything's peachy. It's because people are getting to the point of no return. Like they're getting to their shit line. And once you have a large amount of people who are at their shit line, and then that's it. They have nothing else to lose because they've
It's a
lost
shit
everything.
storm. Yeah.
Then you better watch out, because you
Exactly.
don't want that. And yeah,
Exactly.
I think that's why they're doing this.
Yeah, they are so blatant in our face. They don't even, I mean, look at what we saw happen yesterday. The calls come from above and they just shut down trading on one side of a stock. That's unheard of. It's unprecedented. It's illegal as hell. And they just did it. I mean, like right in our face, fuck you. You guys cannot have the money. Only we can have the money at the top, and we'll just shut you down. And I agree. I think that we're in for a shitstorm. But what's scary is these authoritarian censorship and Silicon Valley's got control of everything. It's a technocracy, technocracy. I can't even say it today. Anyways, they're just going to shut us down on everything social media platform. So, Facebook is now saying they're going to do away with political content altogether. Like we're not allowed to talk politics on Facebook anymore. What do you think of that?
I mean, it's ridiculous. It's this like technocratic takeover, right? Like it's this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. No, yeah, like, but that's exactly what's happening. It's like that they are using people as mining camps for information and for data, right? And then what they're doing on top of that is they are becoming like, you don't even realize it, but like every single ad that you get is directly tailored for you.
Yes.
Like any sort of app you have on your phone, if it's Spotify, boom, they know what kind of music you like. Yep. Then you put where you're going, boom. If you don't put that thing on your phone not to share information, it's sharing like all the places you've been at. Google knows all these
everything,
applications know, Facebook knows, Twitter knows who you're following and all this stuff. It's scary if you think about it.
It is scary.
And it just shows you though, like that we as people, as individuals are so dispensable to them. At any given moment, they can replace you now with a robot or with one person doing twice the work because people want a job. So again, what are we going to get to that shit line where people say no more? You guys gave us $1,200 payment,
right,
$600. That's it. And we still don't have healthcare. And you said you were going to do something about immigration. You won't shut down ICE detention camps. You say ban federal prisons, but most prisons are private. Duh, that's the problem. But you're not doing anything about that. You're like, none of you guys are forcing the vote on Medicare for all. None of you guys are worried really to push legislation to counter this domestic terrorist act. What is going on here? Nobody's speaking for us. Nobody is speaking for us, or only speaking for these people. So if they don't if they don't allow people to protest, and if they don't listen to what people are demanding, I don't really see how America is going to survive beyond like a civil war, or some sort of retaliation will happen, right?
And that was my next question to you. I mean, with you being arrested, do you think in the future that even our type of thought or speech is going to get us cracked down on? As an organizer, I'm scared to put my name on a permit for a rally now. I'm scared to organize in a group on Facebook, because are they going to submit the Facebook records 2 years from now, and all of a sudden I'm facing 10 years because I helped organize? Is that where we're at?
I mean, I think that's where we're going. I mean, Julian Assange, right? Yeah. They completely denied the extradition, but on the basis of how horrible our prison system is, and like they can't guarantee
he's in
he will
Belmarsh.
survive. And like, but they're still saying everything he did was wrong when he didn't do anything wrong. They're still saying that, you know, he went against the government when he literally all he did was tell the truth.
Yeah.
And so when you have somebody like that, they're trying to use as an example, because it was never about Julian Assange the person. It was about Julian Assange the journalist.
Yep.
And what that represents to free speech, and all of that. Of course, he's a human being, but you know, a lot of people on the progressive end are always saying, well, why do you care so much about Julian Assange? It's just one guy. I'd rather care about this, and that. Well, it's like, well, what he represents is much bigger than that. And what he represents is free speech and the like the ability to be able to tell the truth. And if we don't have that, we aren't going to have the ability to talk about other issues that we care about, or other platforms to talk about them on. And so that's why it's so important, because this show won't exist. And I do think like we're headed down that path, which is why so many of us have to support independent media who really sees what's happening, not be part of those people that want to censor people because they have a difference of opinion. Like, that is the most destructive thing you can do. Banning books is now that equivalent. Like, to ban people who have become the sort of educators of a lot of people, and even the ones that are horrible and are lying. Like, people need to know hear
right.
the differences, right?
Yeah. Just because you hate somebody's speech doesn't mean that it's hate speech. And really, it's basically what it comes down to. You got to have those bad ones out there, because, you know, the truth is like a lion. You set it free, it'll defend itself. And the truth is being muzzled. We're being held back. And that's why you guys in the chat, all of you, I appreciate so much. You guys are so important, because without you, we can't do any of this. We're not getting it out to anybody. And, you know, they're trying their damnedest to shut us down in every way they can. So go over to the Rockfin, check Convo Couch over there, and you can sub to them, and then you can come watch our premium stuff, or anybody else on there. There's so many great Slow News Day, Whitney Webb. I mean, there's so many great people over there to watch on the Rockfin. I'm so proud of the Rockfin. They're doing so well. They're growing so fast. And I know you guys are really helping propel that. So thank you, because when you guys grow, we all grow. And that's because of you guys in the chat. Thank you. What do we got here? Question for Fee. What's the best way to get people to fight for Julian Assange in journalism when so many are fighting just to survive?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because that is something that, you know, I always told Pasta, like, and several other of my Assange fans, from a leftist perspective, especially from like a lot of people that I know that are activists on the ground. Like, to them, people caring about a journalist who isn't even American, who's somewhere else, is really not high on their mind, because they can't pay their rent, they don't have money for food, they like all these things are like coming to the forefront. And I think like the best way to basically frame that is that we are already in a state where the corporate media has so much power, and all they do is spew propaganda that brainwashes the vast majority of Americans. And when that happens, we get people who vote against their own interests, we get people who don't pay attention, and we end up with politicians who don't represent us. And so in order to change that, we need to make sure we protect our civil liberties and our ability to speak freely and our ability to have conversations, because that is what will educate and promote knowledge on these issues that we so desperately want to change. So if we want to change the fact that we don't have healthcare for all, how can we organize as a people if we don't have that flow of information, and also that ability to organize through these mediums as well that should be free and should be open? And Julian Assange represents that. So I think the best way to say that is he represents the working class's voice, because if he goes down, our voice, that's so vulnerable, will also go down.
Yeah, exactly. You said it so well, Fee. Oz, you want to take us to number 11, please? We're going to have a little fun. So this is Fee on Halloween. It's that Glory Jones and Johnny.
And Johnny Sue.
And Johnny Sue. And then I love Putin. I love that you got to kick it with Putin. You Russian bot, you.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. That was a communist flag is what I'm wearing.
We hung out with you that night. We actually did a Halloween special. We had a drop in. You guys dropped in. It was a blast. We had a hoot. And with COVID and lockdown, that was probably the highlight of my fall. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was funny. That you all were dressed crazy. It was hilarious.
Yeah, we did have some crazy people. That was a great chat. So yeah, on holidays we throw big online parties, and everybody's invited to Beauty and the Boomer. So we did a New Year's Eve party, and I don't know what's coming up next, but I'm sure we'll have another one soon. Oz, you want to take us to the next slide? I had a little fun with our reface.
Oh my God.
I could not get the videos in the reface to move today because I did a bunch of really cute videos. I sent you a few of them, but yeah, so I had to put you through the reface program. And here's Fee and I hanging out on the beach. And then, of course, us doing our synchronized swimming.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and I let Oz. He's totally checking out the combo couch and leaving me behind.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, the
Yeah,
Mona Lisa one is freaking freaky. My face just fits so well in that one.
Oh, there's so many good ones. I put you on Pam Anderson. I gotta say it was amazing. And if the video would have worked, I would have brought it because we're fighting for Assange, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's awesome that she's doing that using her
It
platform.
is awesome because come on, somebody in Hollywood let us down constantly with their bullshit, with their gated community.
I love her, and
yeah.
Rose McGowan's cool too.
Yeah, she is. She wasn't awake, and then she woke up. There was a long time, like 2015, 16. I was like, oh, come on, get it. And then finally she got it. And it was like, yes. Yeah, she had to flee the country, pretty much like anybody who speaks the truth in this country anymore. Yeah. Right? She's living in somewhere else. Let's take our Patreons. Oz, you want to throw up our Patreon slide? And then we will get to closing, and I will let Miss Fee get out of here because I know you've had a long day. You guys were on for a long time today. Thank you to all of our Patreon and show donors. Nice. There's so many of you guys. I'm not going to read them all, but we'll probably read them off on the Dive or Beauty and the Boomer for you. Thank you so much, guys. So I've got a wonderful closing song. I don't know if you know who Grandson is.
Grandson? No.
Grandson. He toured. Okay, so he was on the Bernie tour this last time around. He is a social musician, like a social activist musician, and you'll recognize some of his songs, like Blood in the Water. And I mean, I brought a lot of his stuff over the last few years, but I think I kept screaming during 2016 and 17 in the movement, like, where the fuck are the musicians? Why? I mean, like during the 60s, you had Dylan and you had, I'm like, where are our musicians? And they're there. You just got to look for them. And Grandson is definitely one of them. And this song is called Dirty. It's about, are you willing to get your hands dirty to help somebody else? And I know Fiorella Isabel is absolutely out there getting her hands dirty every day. Fee, thank you so much for stopping by The Accidental Activist. It was awesome to get to know you a little bit better. And please feel free to stop by Roar anytime.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys. It was interesting being asked different questions. I'm only interested. It's like, wow.
You were a good sport. Thanks
I tend to be a really private person, but yeah, no, it was good. It was good. Getting to know, our supporters and our people is always good. We definitely want to do more of that. So
the chat loved it. They loved getting to know you. They're just going off. They think you're so awesome. You guys make sure that you're over there sub to the Convo Couch. And then tomorrow morning, we have a healthcare, tell your healthcare story workshop. So we're going to go into a workshop 9 a.m. Pacific time. You can see the card is already up. You guys can follow it tomorrow and get instructions on how to learn how to tell your healthcare story so it's effective in the movement for a fight for universal healthcare. And then tomorrow night we got Beauty and the Boomer. Oz and I are going to get all a little crazy and sideways. We got some funny Burmese clips about anal probes and all kinds of things. And then Monday we've got Headline Media's Kit Cabela stopping by the Evening Dive. Is there anybody else on that show?
It's
Hardlands.
Or
Hardlands.
Hardlands. Why do I always
Media,
think that?
and we have a special guest, surprise guest to surprise Kit Cabela with, and that should be a lot of fun too. But again, it's always great to see you, Fee, and we're looking forward to seeing you as often as possible. Thank you for promoting all of the social media that is supportive of the issues that are so important to us
Yeah,
today.
we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
So, you guys have a great night. Have a good night.
This is called Dirty. Is it time to lead or is it time to die? Time to raise hell or walk on by. Is there anybody out there that's paying attention? Yeah. Is it time to speak up or time for silence? Time for peace or is it time for violence? Is there anybody out there that's paying attention? Yeah. Tell me what you're trying to hide and what you're running from inside. 'Cause I got a surprise. We might not make it to the morning. So go on and tell me now. Do you have enough love in your heart to go and get your hands dirty? It isn't that much, but it's a good start. So go and get your hands dirty. Do you love your neighbor? Is it in your nature? Do you love a sunset once you're fed up? Do you have enough love in your heart to go and get your hands dirty? I got a skeleton under the floorboard. I got a secret I need you to keep. Run away, you have been forewarned. I don't want to go off in the deep. If we don't do something, we'll be stuck up in the mud again. Don't want to mess it up, cause I want everything and nothing at all. I got a feeling when they're walking on the ceiling that the people need a healing when they're all. What you trying to hide and what you running from inside? 'Cause I got a surprise. We might not make it to the morning. So go on and tell me now. Do you have enough love in your heart to go and get your hands dirty? It isn't that much, but it's a good start. So go and get your hands dirty. Do you love your neighbor? Is it in your nature? Do you love a sunset once you're fed up? Do you have enough love in your heart to go and get your hands dirty? Is there anybody out there that's paying attention? Is there anybody out there that's paying attention? Yeah. Is there anybody out there that's paying attention? Is there anybody out there? So go on and tell me now. Do you have enough love in your heart to go and get your hands dirty? It isn't that much, but it's a good start. So go and get your hands dirty. Do you love your neighbor? Is it in your nature? Do you love the sunset? Aren't you fed up yet? Do you have enough love in your heart to go and get your hands dirty? Thank y'all so much. Have a good day.